I love you. That's what I hear myself saying, right now, speaking into the camera lens, alone in this cramped motel room. I can't help it. The words come out in a rasped whisper, fueled by the stale scent of cigarettes that cling to the air. Cigarettes you never smoked. I still don't know why I keep inhaling that ghostly smell, or how it even got here. Maybe it's coming from the room next door, or maybe it's some cruel trick of memory. I hate that smell. You always hated it too. But now it follows me, refusing to leave, reminding me of everything we lost, and everything I can't forget. I'm pressing the record button on my phone, imagining your face on the other side of the glass. I don't know why I'm doing this. Maybe because talking to you, even if you're not really here, is the only way I can survive the silence. My voice trembles. I feel the dryness in my throat. The flickering lamp overhead is the only light source, casting my shadow in a warped shape on the wall. I stare at it and realize how easily we lose ourselves. Once upon a time, I thought I had all the answers. Now, I'm not sure I even know the right questions. I remember the first time you walked into my gym. A wisp of a woman, all sharp angles and subtle vulnerability. Your gaze scanning the racks of weights and mirrored walls like you'd stepped onto foreign soil. You had that uncertain half-smile, as though you weren't sure if you belonged there. And honestly, neither was I. You were too thin to look so strong, too beautiful to be entirely real. I watched from a distance as you asked for help from the front desk, your eyes drifting in my direction, lingering longer than they should. I felt something then. Not the typical flicker of attraction, but something deeper, a pull. I guided you through your first workout, showing you how to align your spine, keep your chin up, breathe on the push. My job was to make you comfortable, to show you you could be more than you'd ever believed. But even then, something lit up between us. I could feel it in the quiet moments between sets, in the way your eyes flicked toward mine whenever I moved closer. That silent current terrified me, because I'd seen those looks before. They never end neatly, do they? Back then, I was the quintessential trainer, polite, motivational, unshakable. I told you to brace your core, keep your back straight, exhale on the effort. You laughed, calling me a drill sergeant, but behind that laugh, I caught glimpses of sadness or maybe hunger, an emptiness that mirrored my own. Day by day, I took in more of you, the slope of your shoulders, the softness in your voice when you whispered you couldn't do another rep, the determination that burned in your eyes once you realized you actually could. I taught you push-ups, squats, endurance circuits. You learned fast, absorbing my every correction. Before long, we were sharing more than sets and reps. We were sharing the details of our lives. You with your background in marketing and your new fascination with social media. Me with my years in sports science and my unstoppable urge to perfect the human form. It felt so natural, the way we clicked. I saw in you the potential to become something extraordinary. More than that, I wanted you to reach that potential. Soon, it wasn't just about your body. It was about your spirit, your drive. I loved the way your eyes sparkled whenever you nailed a personal record. You'd glance at me with that conspiratorial smile, the same one that made my chest tighten. Each time, I pretended not to notice how my heart pounded a little harder. I was your coach, your guide, your protector. I didn't dare cross that line. At least, not at first. Then came the day you asked for private sessions. You said it so casually, like it was no big deal. Ethan, can you train me one-on-one? I think I'm ready to go deeper. The flicker in your eyes told me you were testing me, seeing if I'd flinch. I said yes before I even realized what was happening. That was the day I stepped onto a slippery slope, ignoring the sense that I was about to lose my balance. But I love you already. Loved the potential you had, the hope you carried. And I wanted to be near you, no matter how dangerous it felt. We started meeting after hours, when the gym was quiet and the lights dim. I'd pull the metal shutters halfway down, leaving a streak of neon from the street lamp outside to cut across the floor. You arrived in that same hoodie and leggings, your hair pulled tight in a ponytail, eyes a little too bright. You were unstoppable, and I was enthralled. I told myself it was professional, that we were just focusing on your technique. But the tension between us was like static in the air, impossible to ignore. One night, we were working on push-ups, your arms trembling as you tried to hold form. "Keep going," I said, my voice softer than usual. You locked eyes with me, your breath ragged, sweat glistening on your forehead. "I can't," you whispered. "Yes, you can," I replied. I dropped down next to you, lowered myself in unison. We pushed up together. In that moment, it felt like more than exercise. It was a metaphor for everything we were. Two people straining, fighting gravity, hearts pounding in unison. A week later, you told me you wanted me to train you for a fitness competition. It was your dream, you said, and I believed in you. I outlined a program, a strict regimen of workouts, diet plans, sleep schedules. You followed it all, never complaining. You grew stronger, day by day. Your biceps gained definition, your core tightened, your posture straightened. You began posting progress shots on social media, tagging me with glowing praise. Our closeness deepened into something I couldn't name. I told myself it was purely professional admiration. But the way you looked at me after each session, eyes shining with something close to devotion, shattered that feeble lie. We were married in a rush. That's the truth of it. We told ourselves it was destiny. We felt unstoppable, like two puzzle pieces snapping into place. I was the man who'd guided you to your new self. You were the woman who opened my eyes to life beyond routine. We said our vows in a small ceremony, just a few friends, your parents, my brother. I thought I'd never known happiness like that. When you said, "I do," I believed nothing could ever tear us apart. But now, looking into this camera, I see how naive I was. The thing about building a perfect body is that you start to crave perfection everywhere else. Perhaps that craving was yours. Maybe it was mine. I don't know. Maybe we both chased illusions we couldn't sustain. In any case, there came a day, about 2 years into our marriage, when we stopped meeting each other's eyes at breakfast. When your phone's glow replaced my touch, when I realized you needed more than I could give. That's how Marcus appeared, a friend of a friend, a photographer with a flair for capturing raw human emotion, or so he claimed. You introduced him to me casually. I remember his handshake. Too firm, too sure. He smiled, referencing some of your social media posts, praising your incredible evolution. I noticed how he looked at you, eyes lingering on your lips. I wanted to punch him right there, but I also doubted my instincts. Was I being paranoid? Jealous? You said he was a creative partner, someone who could help you expand your brand. I believed you, or maybe I just didn't want to see what was happening. Soon, he was around all the time. Photo shoots at the beach, at the gym, in the city. Late-night edits at his studio, you said. I forced a smile, tried to be supportive. You were chasing your dreams, after all. And I was busy too, training new clients, building a reputation as a top-tier fitness coach. Life got hectic. We saw less of each other, physically and emotionally. I'd come home to find your side of the bed empty, your phone's text notifications blinking on the nightstand. Then, one night, I decided to surprise you. I ended my last training session early, rushed home with a bottle of wine. I imagined lighting a candle or two, maybe reconnecting, telling you how proud I was of everything you'd accomplished. Instead, I found the apartment dark, empty. A note on the fridge said you'd gone to a photo shoot with Marcus. An all-nighter, apparently. I tried calling, but your line went straight to voicemail. Something inside me twisted. My stomach churned with the bitter tang of suspicion. I found myself leaving the wine unopened on the kitchen table. Later, I drove to Marcus's studio, because my gut wouldn't let it go. It was around midnight, the city lights flickering in puddles along the asphalt. I remember how the neon sign above his building reflected in a single wet patch near the entrance, turning it into a glowing purple smear. I climbed the stairs quietly, heart pounding louder with each step. My mouth was dry as sand. I had no plan. I just knew I had to see you. I reached the door. It was cracked open. Inside, one dim lamp revealed scattered photo equipment, backdrops, cables. And you. You were in the corner, your shirt off, wearing a tight sports bra, leaning against a black backdrop. Marcus hovered near, camera in hand, but not taking any pictures. His other hand touched your arm. The contact looked intimate, more than professional. My heart hammered in my chest. Then you leaned into him. He whispered something. You laughed, a sound I'd never heard before, low, sultry, as though you'd forgotten any reason to hold back. I froze. Maybe if I'd walked in right away, called your name, the scene would have ended differently. But I stood there in the doorway, paralyzed. Marcus moved closer, capturing your lips with his. You didn't resist. You tilted your head, pressing yourself against him. The lamp cast your shadows on the wall, two silhouettes merging into a single shape. That shape burned itself onto my retinas. My world collapsed, right there, in the silence of that studio, accompanied only by the soft mechanical clicks of a camera shutter that never lied. I didn't realize tears were streaming down my face until I felt them drip off my chin. My hands shook. I turned around and stumbled down the stairs. My mind screamed at me to confront you, to rip him away from you, to demand answers. But my body disobeyed. I just ran. When I reached the sidewalk, I leaned against a street lamp, struggling to breathe. A passing stranger asked if I was okay. I probably looked like a man on the brink of a breakdown. I couldn't answer. I felt numb, like everything inside had been sucked out, replaced by a hollow ache. That moment marked the beginning of the end. Maybe that was also the moment I began losing myself. The next morning, you came home early. You saw me sitting at the kitchen table, the unopened wine still there, my eyes red. I glanced up. Our gazes locked. For a heartbeat, I thought you'd apologize, fall to your knees, beg for forgiveness. Instead, you looked away. That look told me everything. You wouldn't fight for us. You were already gone. I told you to pack your things, but you just stared. Ethan, why? You started, your voice breaking. Then you covered your mouth. That apology never fully came. Instead, you broke down, stammering half explanations. You felt trapped. You needed new experiences. You never meant to hurt me. I was silent. My heart hammered in my chest, but I couldn't speak. I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear the walls down, do something dramatic and maniacal to show you the level of my devastation. But all I did was nod, as if I understood. After a few weeks of half-hearted attempts to reconcile, you dropped the final bomb. I'm leaving, you said, stuffing clothes into a suitcase, that damn phone buzzing on the bed with messages from Marcus. I stared at you, thinking you meant leaving me, but my mind twisted in denial. I'll come with you, I said, voice cracking, half in a daze. I saw your lips part in shock. You realized I was serious. But you didn't want that. You wanted a new start, just not with me. Days later, we were done. I left the keys on the table in our apartment, the place once filled with so much hope. I lit a match, let it drop onto a stack of old newspapers near the stove. Maybe part of me wanted to burn every memory to ash. I watched the flames curl upward, hungry. Then I turned and walked out, barefoot, barely registering the pain of broken glass underfoot. In my pocket, I had plane tickets for 2, tickets I'd bought for us. I ended up using only one. That first week away was a haze. I moved from motel to motel, paying with crumpled bills I'd collected from canceled clients. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I guess I wanted to vanish. Maybe I thought if I disappeared from my old life, the pain would vanish too. But it didn't. I carried it inside, a raw open wound that refused to scab over. I'd wake up in the middle of the night, gasping for air, imagining you next to me. Then I'd remember the taste of betrayal in my mouth, and my chest would squeeze like a vice. I tried to drown my thoughts in alcohol once or twice. It didn't help. I tried burying myself in endless runs, punishing workouts, anything to break the cycle of heartbreak replaying in my head. That worked for an hour or two until I collapsed on the floor of some dingy motel room, sweat drenching my shirt, mind spinning with memories of you. Memories of your laughter in my gym, your grin when I corrected your form, the sparkle in your eyes when I proposed. What a fool I was, thinking forever meant the same thing to both of us. Nobody knew why I left, not even my own brother. My clients texted, called, asked where I disappeared to, but I ignored them. I had nothing to say. My world had narrowed to a single point. You. Even though you were gone, you still possessed me. Everything I'd poured into you, my knowledge, my discipline, my passion, remained inside your body, sculpting you into the woman you'd always dreamed of becoming. I realized that, in some twisted sense, you were still carrying me everywhere you went, even while you walked away from me. Months passed. I lost track of time, drifting between cheap rentals and fleeting jobs at small gyms in unremarkable towns. Late at night, I'd stare into my phone's camera, recording these confessions, hoping it would free me. It never did, but I kept doing it, half addicted to the act of speaking as if you could hear me, as if my words might haunt you the way your memory haunted me. And then I saw you again. On a random night, I was scrolling through social media. I know I promised myself I wouldn't look, but loneliness does that. Suddenly, there you were in a short video, stepping onto a stage in a glittering bikini, your body flawless. Lights flared. The audience cheered. You turned, showing off the definition in your back, your triceps, your abs. My stomach twisted. I recognized every muscle group, because I'd molded them. They were my design, my hours of labor made flesh, and the crowd went wild for you, cheering a name you no longer shared with me. I felt both pride and devastation. Pride that the woman I had shaped was shining so brightly on that stage. Devastation at the reminder that you'd left me in the dark. My hand shook around my phone as the camera panned to your smile. Perfect, confident, as if you'd never known heartbreak. The announcer introduced you as the next big thing in fitness modeling, a rising star. Then the camera angle shifted, revealing him. Marcus stood just off stage, clapping with that smug grin. My vision blurred in red-hot anger. That's when I started planning my return, though I wouldn't admit it to myself just yet. Sometime after, I heard rumors you were headlining a major fitness expo in Los Angeles, the city we once called home, the city I fled. My first reaction was to laugh bitterly. How twisted life can be. I told myself I wouldn't go, that I'd bury the past. But as the days crept closer, an urge stronger than logic gnawed at me. I had to face you. Maybe it was a desire for closure, or maybe it was pure masochism. Either way, I packed my bag and bought a ticket to La, half hoping to see you, half hoping to vanish in the crowd. The expo was big, flashy. Massive posters of toned athletes loomed overhead in bright neon. The hum of thousands of voices merged into a deafening roar. Vendors shouted about supplements, new workout gear, protein shakes. Everywhere I looked, I saw expressions of discipline and pride, sculpted bodies on display. It felt ironic. This was the world we once shared. Now I was a ghost in it. I found you at one of the main stages. A spotlight traced your figure as you stepped out to do a demonstration, your voice amplified by the sound system. You wore a sleek black set of athletic wear, lines hugging your every contour. Your hair glowed under the bright lights. Applause swelled, and you flashed that camera-ready smile. My heart lurched. Despite everything, a part of me still admired you, loved you, hated you. Marcus stood nearby, carrying your props, adjusting your microphone. He was your assistant, your manager, your lover. I watched him place a hand on your shoulder. You leaned into it, quietly acknowledging him. My stomach twisted with rage, but a cold calm settled over me too. It's hard to describe. some combination of acceptance and a hunger for retribution. I kept to the shadows, letting the swirl of bodies cloak me from your sight. Yet I couldn't turn away. I was drawn in, as though compelled to witness the final act of our story. That night, I followed you and Marcus from a distance, out of the expo center into the parking lot. You were loaded with free samples and gifts from sponsors. He was laughing about something. You looked up at him and gave him a quick kiss. A pang shot through my chest so sharp I nearly doubled over, but I forced myself to remain still, watching from the dark. Then you both got into his car, trunk stuffed with your suitcases, your name on the luggage tags. You were traveling together, of course. I clenched my fists, nails cutting into my palms. But I didn't move. I had no plan for confrontation, no desire for a cheap public fight. Instead, I waited until you were gone, then made my way to a 24-hour diner. I found a booth in the corner, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. The smell of coffee reminded me of simpler mornings with you. I sat there until sunrise, nursing a single cup, scribbling incoherent thoughts on a napkin. Something in me was cracking open. The part that still loved you was warring with the part that wanted to see you suffer for what you'd done. In the end, only bitterness remained, like an aftertaste that spoils whatever it touches. I decided I'd confront you privately, when the time was right, and remind you of the cost of your choices. But as the weeks passed, an unexpected clarity emerged. The more I stalked your public appearances, the more I realized something. You'd built your success on everything I taught you, my discipline, my techniques, my routines. You were gorgeous, unstoppable, a shining example of human potential. And in each radiant smile you offered the world, I saw a reflection of my own dedication. I was a ghost in your body, and you couldn't hide it, even if you tried. It wasn't revenge I sought anymore. It was something deeper, a revelation, maybe. So I planned one last encounter. I found out you'd be competing in a high-stakes fitness pageant, the one that might launch you into mainstream fame. I knew you'd be backstage, preparing, with Marcus flitting around you like a moth to a flame. I purchased a backstage pass under a fake name, used an old contact who owed me a favor. The night of the event, I slipped past security, wearing black cargo pants and a hoodie. My heart hammered so hard I worried it would echo through the corridors. Backstage was a maze of half-dressed competitors, tanning sprays, pumping stations, bright lights, mirrors. I crept along, ignoring the flurry around me. Then I spotted you, near a rack of costumes. You were bent over, stretching, headphones in your ears. Marcus was nowhere to be seen. This was my chance. I stepped closer, uncertain how you'd react. My mind raced with half-formed words. Anger, heartbreak, longing. Before I could speak, you turned. You froze, eyes widening. The tension between us compressed the air. You fumbled to pull out your earbuds, shock painting your face. Ethan. You breathed, as though saying my name hurt. How did you? I held up a hand. Don't worry, I murmured. I'm not here to make a scene. My voice came out uneven. I noticed how your face had changed, leaner, more defined. But your eyes, they were still the same. You swallowed, glancing around to see if anyone was watching. You shouldn't be here, you managed. I stepped closer, feeling the heat from your body. For a second, I remembered all the times I guided you through a workout, my hands on your shoulders, our breaths synchronized. The memory made my chest ache. I know, I said. But I had to see you. I had to see for myself. You looked away, blinking rapidly. See what? How much of me is still in you? I answered, surprising myself with my honesty. Your lips parted, but you had no words. That's when Marcus appeared from around the corner, a garment bag slung over his shoulder. He spotted me, face twisting in anger. What the hell are you doing here? He demanded, stepping between us. He set the garment bag down, fists clenching. I didn't flinch. Relax, I told him. I'm not here for a fight. Just a conversation. Your gaze darted between us, tension radiating from your posture. The overhead lights flickered, casting everything in harsh contrast. I remembered telling you about posture, how to keep your shoulders back. It stabbed me in the gut, seeing you stand that way now, so perfect, so controlled. Marcus advanced. She has nothing to say to you, he snapped. His voice held confidence, as if he was certain you'd back him up. I looked at you, ignoring him. Is that true? I asked softly. You hesitated. Then you said, I don't know what to feel. The rawness in your voice echoed in my chest. That was the first honest thing I'd heard from you in a long time. Marcus grabbed your arm. We don't have time for this. You're on in 15 minutes. He tried to steer you away, but you shrugged him off, surprising both of us. For a moment, you just stood there, trembling, the world around us fading into muffled commotion. Then you reached into your bag and pulled out a small gold keychain. The one I'd given you after we got married, engraved with our initials. You pressed it into my hand. I can't keep this anymore, you said. Your eyes glistened, though no tears fell. I'm sorry. The finality in your tone knocked the wind out of me. My fingers closed around the keychain, the metal biting into my palm. I realized that was it. Our final goodbye. I offered a nod. My lips parted as if to speak, but no words emerged. The emptiness in my chest was as vast as an ocean. Marcus wrapped an arm around you, guiding you away from me. The fluorescent bulbs hummed overhead, reflecting off the polished floor. I watched you walk off, your figure receding into the swirl of activity backstage. That moment might have destroyed me, if not for a strange sense of acceptance slowly seeping in. 10 minutes later, I stood hidden behind the curtains as the announcer called your name. You walked onto the stage, radiant under the bright spotlights, your posture flawless, your muscles rippling with each step. The crowd roared its approval. Cameras flashed in staccato bursts, capturing every angle, every graceful turn. Marcus hovered at the edge of the stage, beaming with pride. And there, in that spectacle, I realized something vital. I had not truly vanished. I was present in every fiber of your being, in every flex of your arms and legs. I was the discipline in your spine, the power in your triceps, the command in your stance. No matter where you went, you carried me with you. That knowledge felt like a twisted kind of triumph. It wasn't revenge, not in the usual sense. It was revelation, an exposure of truth that neither you nor Marcus could ever deny. Even if the crowd shouted your name, even if sponsors clamored to sign you, they were also applauding the man who had shaped you. They just didn't know it. The stage lights gleamed, intense and unwavering, and I stood in the shadows, unseen, but undeniably there. Later, I walked out into the night, the keychain still tucked in my fist. A half-moon hung low in the sky, casting faint silver across the streets. The city bristled with life, but it felt distant. I breathed in cool air, trying to exhale the last fragments of heartbreak. In that moment, a sense of calm seeped into my bones. I thought about how you might interpret my sudden reappearance, how Marcus would stew in jealousy or fear, and I found that I didn't care. My time for caring had expired. I boarded a bus at a station near the expo center, ignoring curious glances from other passengers. I still wore the backstage pass around my neck, a silent testament to the confrontation that had just unfolded. As the bus rumbled into the highway, I stared out the window at the city lights receding behind me. A gentle drizzle started, droplets forming rivulets across the glass, refracting the neon glow outside. My reflection overlapped with the watery night, a ghostly double whispering regrets and goodbyes. I loved you, I said to my reflection, realizing for the first time that past tense might be the right tense now. The smell of stale cigarettes wafted through the bus. Someone was probably sneaking a smoke in the back. My nose wrinkled. That scent, haunting me once again. In a strange way, it felt like closure. You never smoked, but your betrayal burned me in ways a mere cigarette never could. I gripped the phone in my pocket, thinking of the countless recordings I'd made, my confessions to a lens, half hoping you'd one day watch them. I felt a surge of resolve. Maybe I'd post them online, let the world see my side. But then I realized no, that wouldn't grant me peace. Let you have the stage. Let you have Marcus, if that's what you choose. I had my own life to reclaim. Time drifted, and I arrived in a quiet suburb by dawn. I found a small motel, ironically similar to the one I'd holed up in months before. The clerk gave me a once-over, probably noticing my worn hoodie, the tired lines on my face. I paid for a single night, not sure where I'd go next. But for the first time, the uncertainty didn't bother me. My old life was in ashes, my illusions burned away. Yet I was still here. Still breathing. Still me. That morning, I sat on the edge of the sagging bed, flipping the keychain over and over in my hand. Our initials were nearly rubbed off, but the shape remained. It felt heavier than before. I set up my phone again, propping it on the nightstand, pressing record. I don't know what to feel, I admitted, echoing your words. Part of me wants to hate you forever. Part of me wants you to be happy, and another part just wants to forget. But the truth is, I can't. Not yet. Maybe not ever. Maybe I'm okay with that. I fell silent, listening to the static hum in the room. The reflection of my face in the phone screen seemed foreign, like a man I once knew but hadn't seen in ages. My eyes looked older, heavier with sorrow and wisdom. I realized I was comparing who I was then, naive, hopeful, to who I am now, hardened by betrayal, still raw from heartbreak. And I barely recognized myself. Yet I also sensed a strange flicker of pride. I'd faced the darkest moment, and walked through it. Scared, yes, but not broken. Climbing under the thin motel sheets, I wondered about your next competition, about Marcus's next photo shoot. I wondered if you'd think of me tonight, or if you'd bury every memory under the bright lights and applause. With my eyes closed, I inhaled slowly, still detecting that phantom cigarette odor. I let out a slow exhale, imagining the swirl of smoke dissipating in the morning air, carrying away the last remnants of my illusions. I slept and dreamed. Dreamed of the night you first stepped into my gym, back when we were strangers brimming with possibility. I saw you on the bench press, me counting your reps, your laughter ringing out when your arms gave way. Then I dreamed of flames consuming our apartment, the match I'd dropped curling across newspapers, and photos we once cherished. In that swirl of dream images, I glimpsed a man in the corner, face half hidden in darkness, watching me with pity. That man was me. When I woke, it was midday. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, golden and pure. A deep ache throbbed in my chest, but I also felt an odd sense of freedom. The illusions were gone, replaced by a painful clarity. There's a peculiar relief in realizing you've already lost the thing you feared losing most. It means you can start building something new. I checked my phone. No messages, no missed calls. I hadn't expected any. My brother had left a voicemail days ago, asking me to come home, but I hadn't found the courage to listen to it yet. Maybe I would soon. The world outside the motel beckoned, but I hesitated. I needed one final moment to record the last piece of this twisted puzzle. I sat at the small table by the window, phone propped up again, the midday sun lighting my face. Hit record. My reflection stared back at me, eyes steady. This is not about revenge, I said, voice calm. Revenge would mean I still want to hurt you, but I've realized that what's happened, this affair, this meltdown, has already exposed the truth. We gave each other everything we had, and then it wasn't enough. That's the real betrayal, not just you being with him, but our indifference to each other's pain. I paused, swallowing a lump in my throat. I still feel the echoes of who we were. I think a part of me will always love that memory, but I can't live there anymore. I have to move on. I will move on. My thumb hovered over the stop button. I considered my final words carefully. I hope you find what you're looking for. I hope Marcus makes you happy, if that's what you truly need. Me, I'll keep going, one day at a time. Because that's all any of us can do. Click. Recording stopped. I stared at the phone, heart beating steadily. No tears, no outbursts. Just a quiet acceptance that this chapter was done. I had laid it all out, poured my soul into the lens, as if speaking to you directly. Maybe I'd never send it to you, never post it. But it existed, and that was enough. I rose, gathered my few belongings, and walked to the door. The sun outside was blinding, the day bright and alive. People bustled on the sidewalk, cars honked in the distance. Life marched on, indifferent to my personal tragedy. And maybe that was the final lesson. The world keeps spinning, no matter how hard you beg it to stop. Stepping out, I caught a faint whiff of stale cigarettes from somewhere down the block. I almost smiled. Let it follow me, if it must. Let it remind me of a story that scorched my heart, but also taught me who I really am. This time, instead of running, I inhaled deeply, letting the pungent aroma drift through me. When I exhaled, I felt a strange peace. I squared my shoulders, remembering the way I always instructed you to do the same. Keep your spine straight, your chin lifted. And I walked forward into the hot midday sun, letting the door swing shut behind me with a final click. My story didn't end here, far from it. But this chapter did, and that was enough. Sometimes we die to one life so another can begin. That's what you taught me, in your own way. In my mind, I can still see your silhouette on that stage, your body a testament to everything we built together. You shine, illuminated by 1,000 flashbulbs, while I slip away into the background, unseen. And that's okay. Because in your stance, your strength, your perfect posture, the world sees me too, whether they realize it or not. And I move on. I'm alive. I'm free. I love you, and I'm letting you go.